Are you ready to take your investment game to the next level? Introducing Digital Investor, your ultimate guide to mastering the digital marketplace. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, Digital Investor brings you cutting-edge game theoretical strategies, expert insights, and real-time tips and tactics to analyze, evaluate, invest, and grow your wealth. Don't miss out on the digital revolution. Visit www.nickblacknext.com and start your journey with Digital Investor today.
All right. Let's slow the music down a little bit. That seems a little bit more manageable. All right. Traveling around. Okay, well, hello anyway. I'm almost losing my voice from yelling at this cat. He thinks it's real funny now to go to every single potted plant and yank them down to the ground and then run off. He's hit about 4 of them today already. Oh, God. And then when I get the ones downstairs settled, he runs upstairs and I start hearing them get knocked over. Ooh. Friends don't let friends have servals. All right. So we got some people at Standard Chartered saying Bitcoin to 500K. Maybe. They're saying probably during the Trump administration. I would think that seems pretty clear to me, but we'll see. Anyway, we'll go into that. The Great Accumulation is another article that I read that I thought was worth sharing, and it talks about this great kind of corporate race for accumulating Bitcoin. So that's kind of interesting. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And then we will go where the day takes us. Let's talk about Bitcoin first. All right. Bitcoin hit 500K. What do you guys think? Show of hands. Well, show of typing. Show of keystrokes. What do you think is the highest point Bitcoin is going to touch during the 4 years of the Trump presidency? What do you guys think? My guess. Oh, it got real quiet, didn't it? Let's see. Oh, there we go. 4 years from now, so I feel like 200, 250, they could take that out this year. In 2025, let's see what you guys think. 240. This is so you're saying that's the high during the entire 4 years? Scott, we've already been to 100, almost 110. You think in the next 4 years it'll only get 40K more? Has there been any 4-year stretch in all of crypto where the price has only gone up 37%? No, there has not. Let's see, 250, 250, 200, 400. Yeah, I'm kind of in Frank's camp on this. I think between 400, 500, a million. I mean, again, we're talking about in the next 4 years. I guess for this year, just 2025, I think we see 200 to 250. But I think for the full presidency, I think that's more realistic. I think a million makes more sense. Let's see, 2, 453. Yeah. I mean, so yeah, I guess that would be my 1 year. My 1 year, 4 year would be 250, 1 million. That's my split. Yeah, I think we're on the right track. Yeah. Too much volatility. Well, no. Scott, too much volatility would actually make it more likely to hit those price points. Right? Because if it's volatile, it's making big moves up and down. Remember, if something just goes straight down, it's not volatile. And if something goes straight up, it's not volatile. 500K battered by the last bear market. Yeah. A lot of you have bruises. You bruises from 2022. Well, a lot of people apparently have bruises from the last Saturday, the biggest liquidation in history. So Saturday, everyone, February 3rd, everyone. Whoa, hey, yo. Anyway, interesting. But I think 250 this year. Okay, better question. Would you sell your Bitcoin and then how low would you drop before you bought it back? No, Kurt, I would sell options against it, but I would not sell Bitcoin. Nope. I would just sell options. And I would sell options on the physical. I still don't know if I'm going to get into I thought about putting a little bit of money over there just to sell options, just so that we could talk about that with the digital investors and digital private clients behind the wall once a week as kind of a money-making strategy. But I don't like being in that second derivative options on an ETF, on a spot asset. Like it's too many one-offs. So yeah, I'm indecisive. Also, I would sell options against it, or I would borrow against my Bitcoin, and that would be my exit. I'd rather owe money on it and pay some debt than have it be a realized gain and then some kind of a big fat gross taxable event. Now, dummies will dummy. That is the truth. It's hard to be optimistic. How is it hard to be optimistic? Lisa, how's it hard to be optimistic? Bitcoin is like, hold on, let's go over here. We gotta have a come to Jesus with you people. All right, let's do the year chart on Bitcoin. So if you went from a year back, 12 months. Okay, 12 months ago, we were at 44,000. 44,000. Today, we're at 97,000. So how is it hard to be optimistic? I don't know. So we'll see. Real negative effects on the markets. Yeah, for a few days. You guys, all this stuff, it's just about negotiating. None of these a-holes would come to the negotiating table. They certainly weren't going to listen to Biden and those other idiots. So none of them would come to the table. So Trump says, this is what I'm about to do. You guys better come talk. My office door is open. Oh, you don't want to do it? All right, cool. Boop. And remember, tariffs are passed on to the consumer. All right? Tariffs are passed on to the consumer. Understand that. So it's already brought Mexico to the table to negotiate. Canada will be next. China and the US will work something out. These are negotiating tactics. All right. I would be more interested in options. Options are great, but options on the physical, not options on an ETF. Okay, because the Trump acceptance of BTC will grow, there'll be some exponential effects. I think so. I think we're going to talk about this in a second. We're going to talk about this institutional onboarding, but just the general thoughts about what goes on during the Trump administration, the Trump time, the Trump days. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that sucked. Well, what really sucked is that Ledger X sold to FTX. That's the real problem. Ledger X sold to FTX like a bunch of assholes. And that screwed all of us. That's why I don't really trust Ledger X. You know, they're trying to rebrand right now. See, the thing is, I don't even know if these things work. I just don't know. It's like, it's got to be one. It's got to be right there. Not there. Not there. Not there. Not there. Right there. Right there. Well, I don't know if it's any better. Anyway, but I got to wear them because they're expensive. I got to wear stuff that costs me a lot of money. Otherwise, I feel like I wasted my money and I'm miserable. All right. Yeah. You know, there's just a lot of money. There's a lot of money selling covered calls and cash secured puts. And it's consistent money. I think there was one of our digital private clients. He made, for years, that was his main strategy. He's just option selling, big option seller. Make a lot of money. And it's consistent. You're not going to get rich, but you will definitely grow your riches. Let's put it that way. And I may do this. I still have an E-Trade account. I ought to put some money over in E-Trade and then just do it so that we could have it as a talking point. Well, no, I'm not. It's only the time side of the utility. I'm not putting more money into these. I'm certainly not reinvesting in them. but you're not incorrect. I am using them whether they work or not. So, yeah. Okay, let's go into it. Let's talk a little bit about Bitcoin and what we think this could look like over the next, and I guess it's apropos to just do the all-time. Look at that. Look at that. Oh my God, that was my first purchase. 672. Where was it? Yes. That was my first purchase. $672. Oh, the good old days. Am I right? All right. Okay. Bitcoin to hit 500K by 2028 as ETFs ease access. They ease the access. Easy access? No, that's not what you want to hear. And volatility drops, Standard Chartered proposes. The bank expects institutional flows into spot ETFs to grow as volatility drops, leading to a significant price appreciation in the long term. Standard Chartered says it sees Bitcoin rising to $500,000 per Bitcoin as access to the cryptocurrency goes higher and higher. The rise should come while Donald Trump is still leading the White House and is expected to be gradual. There's nothing gradual about Bitcoin. I do think, didn't Arizona get through the gate last night? I think Arizona, it passed both sides. Now it goes to a floor vote. I think that's where Arizona's at. Brandon will probably tell us more tomorrow, unless you guys have some news articles about it. But I think Arizona may be the first through the wall. The people at Standard Chartered believe the price of Bitcoin could balloon to $500,000 by 2028, lifted by increased investor access, diminishing overall market volatility, which maybe that makes sense because if you have a lot more people holding and a lot more people participating, the sheer volume increase decreases volatility. This, they theorize, will help keep it serving as a unique hedge against issues plaguing traditional finance. I saw a guy yesterday on CNBC, and he was saying that now it's fair to look at Bitcoin and gold together as a hedge asset in a portfolio. I thought that was pretty interesting. And he's old school. It's a billionaire. He's been around quite a bit. So it's interesting that these guys are coming out. The largest cryptocurrency is likely to become less volatile as the year-old U.S. exchange-traded fund markets mature. And this is the head of digital asset research at Standard Chartered. Access to BTC is improving under the Trump administration. Institutional flows into spot Bitcoin ETFs are set to keep on growing. He wrote, the two influences are set to raise Bitcoin's share of an optimized two-asset portfolio with gold, which should lead the price appreciation longer term as the portfolio continues to move towards their optimal logical state. That is enough to drive Bitcoin to 500,000 per token before Trump leaves office. The bank's year-end price target. Now, this is where I think it's kind of funny. Their year-end target is 200,000. Their 2026 target is 300,000. So they're okay. I guess what they believe is that the increase will be moderate. It'll be moderated. It'll be graduated. So it'll kind of start to smooth, some smoothing effect, if you will. Bitcoin is currently trading at $98,000, and the Bitcoin to gold ratio has recently hit its lowest level since mid-November, as gold has surged among ongoing concerns of a U.S.-China trade war and increased Chinese demand. Okay, so interestingly, I don't agree exactly with that. I do agree that you reduce the crazy volatility when all of these states and pension funds, things like that, start onboarding. And I think we are no more than about 3-4 months away from a lot of these states having passed this. I mean, they're all rushing right now, because what you don't want to be is the state that watches Bitcoin go up because your bills for a Bitcoin strategic reserve were mired in some kind of, political, weirdness between party members, all this kind of crap. You want to push that puppy through there, and you want to be a part of that melt up. So it's kind of interesting to see just how fast these states get on board. And it's interesting too that they've been so excited about it. Let's see. Is there a good place to paper trade options to learn on BTC and ETH? Well, the way to paper trade, I think TradeStation lets you paper trade. I think Think or Swim lets you paper trade. I don't know. I haven't messed with any of those kind of paper trading softwares, but you can just do it by hand. You can literally paper trade. You can imagine yourself having a Bitcoin worth of IBIT. So figure out what that would equal. Figure out how many lots of 100 that would equal. And then that's 100 is a contract. I wonder if it might make sense. Maybe we used to do these. Thinkorswim doesn't exist. Oh, it's gone. Oh no, it used to be awesome. Oh well. Oh man. Thinkorswim does. Well, now it does. It doesn't. Does it? Does it not? We used to do an options course about once every 2 weeks. We could do a specific options course, a Bitcoin options course. But I'd have to go mess with IBIT, and I'd have to figure out what those ratios were and how they compare to the price of Bitcoin. It's not even a direct mental corollary. It's like a weird number. I could do it based on spot Bitcoin. I don't know. We'll have to see if that's something you guys might be interested in. We would do that like it was a little seminar or something like that. Yeah. Maybe we do something like that. I don't know. We'll see. We'll think about it. Okay, I do the IBIT options, and they've been working out great so far. High volatility. Yeah. I mean, I think there's definitely money there. I just hate dealing in a proxy space where you don't really own the underlying asset. Now, what would be cool is if BlackRock gets their way and they make the ETF shares convertible. They're trying to do that, right? Like possibly that you could make them BTC convertible. That would be pretty badass. But yeah, and you want that volatility. So the same thing we're talking about earlier, you want volatility because volatility equals premium and time equals premium, right? The more volatile something is, and the more time is left before expiration, the more likely all sorts of events can take place. But what happens is, as the time narrows, even if something's volatile, less time, less opportunity for big things to happen on both sides, right? No matter how volatile it is, as the time shrinks, it eventually closes to a single point. It collapses to a point, and that point is the expiration date. Know what I'm saying? Let's see. Do I expect altcoins to have a similar run as past cycles? I expect quality altcoins to have good runs. We just talked about yesterday with the digital investors, with this group, many of you, about condensing your portfolio to 8 or 10 assets. And that it might make sense. We're just in a place where there's so much stuff out there. It may be time to cut some losses. I thought actually the market would be higher right now than where it is. I did not anticipate the trade war of February 3 to February 3 being that big of a deal. This is something that Trump had talked about for almost a year. He told everyone, I'm doing this. Like, there was no surprise. I think it was very tactical to do it on weekends so that the stock market didn't really get crushed. And I think even though the crypto market got nuked, it gives everybody some buying opportunities on some quality, because none of what happened had to do with the quality of these assets. But it does give you an opportunity to potentially streamline or reconcile your portfolio. I don't expect all altcoins to run. I don't know where all that money would come from. There's so many hundreds of thousands of tokens. I think it's going to be a picker's market. It's going to be when we do our kind of 5 T's and our as fundamental as we can get. The way that we analyze these assets is going to become more valuable. Looking at the team and the timing and the tokenomics, looking at the technology, and then asking, why does this token exist? What is the token utility? And then seeing, is this something that can achieve use, utility, wide scale adoption, some manner of hoarding effect, and what are dummies doing? Well, dummies got nuked. They all got their asses handed to them over the last weekend. And more so than at any other time in crypto history, but also there's more people involved than any other time in the crypto history. So it's not a completely accurate measurement. You'd have to look at if the total market cap of crypto is way higher. So we're in an environment where the total market cap, it's still got to be 3.2, right? 3.167. Oh, but anyway, remember this time last year, we were saying we're not in a bull market until we pass 3 trillion. Right? We got almost to 4 trillion. I think we will see 4.5 trillion this year. I think there's a lot of moves to be made. But right now, a lot of people are licking wounds and just there's blood. There's just gutted, and that's a good thing. But I think other people might also do this. They might also say, I'm tired of owning 64 things. Man, these people show me their portfolios and it's like looking into the mind of a psychopath. And this guy, nice guy, but we were at a party and this guy was like, look, man, I made 6 figures on this, but I look and I'm like, it's a low liquid token. I'm like, you can't get out of it. Like, you can't sell any of it. It's a paper win. You're not actually liquid. You're liquid for 50% of that. So, yeah. But at a party, you just say, sweet. Anyway, network effects for Bitcoin will definitely come into play. I agree. What do you think about DeFi concentrated liquidity pools for fee collecting, Orca, Radium, Arrow pools? It's use. Are people using DeFi to participate in DeFi, or are people using DeFi to alleviate some real world stress? Right now, I think it's the former, not the latter. I think people are using DeFi to use DeFi. What I like about JLP is that it's mining activity. That's where I want to be. I want to be mining activity. I don't want to be, and again, this isn't a complete description of Orca, Radium, and Arrow pools, but those pools tend to be more people that are in DeFi for DeFi's sake. Does that make sense? And I feel like JLP is kind of a step removed. Well, they're not majoring in the miners, so to speak. But Radium gets there's a lot of volume that goes across Radium. There's money to be made there. I don't feel as confident about owning that. Like, I wouldn't sleep too well at night owning that. Let's see, you can get all the numbers from Deribit without signing in. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you can paper trade Deribit. I mean, Deribit's great. Is anybody here trading on Deribit? I mean, I've seen them pull scams before, but they're bigger now. This was years ago. This was like 2018. I did see them pull a scam. But anyways, neither here nor there. Okay, so I would say, if you have access, if you're in Europe, if you have access to trade Deribit, I think actually Canada can do it too, Canadians. Deribit is good, but you've got to be very careful that you know what you're doing, because you can accidentally end up in margin positions and get whacked when they just paint the tape for a few minutes and get a bunch of people radiated out of those positions. Yeah. Anyway, so be careful. But I like Deribit. Deribit is liquid. The problem, what I always saw from Deribit was Deribit did not pay the premiums. The premiums were a lot tighter. They just weren't as good as the premiums over at Ledger X. So the game was, if you were selling, you could basically sell a contract on Ledger X, take the money, go buy back the same contract for like a third, for like 2/3 the price. You basically just made 30%, no matter what happens, as long as you're willing to push Bitcoin around. So I had tried arbitrage trading Deribit against Ledger X, and it worked up to a point of like 3 to 4 Bitcoin. The problem was you could always get filled at Deribit. You couldn't always get filled at Ledger X. So that was the problem, is they never had the liquidity to like really do this, because that's something that you could have really scaled up. But then again, if they had the liquidity, the margins would have, I mean, the premiums would have been much tighter, and maybe this wouldn't exist. But there was a time there where with about 2 or 3 Bitcoin a week, you could trade. I mean, I would look at them and go, okay, wait, what am I missing? Certainly it can't be this simple. Can I sell the 15K and sell the 15K for $1,000 and buy the 15K for $480? What am I missing? Like, it's where it's so obvious that you feel like you must be doing something wrong. That spread existed for a while. And I made some good little Some good little bits on that. Some good little tasty morsels. Okay. Schwab now has the Thinkorswim platform. That's great. Ameritrade has become Charles Schwab. Boy, everybody's become everybody else, huh? They really took this pronoun thing, and they just extrapolated it out. Like, we're Ameritrade, but I identify as Charles Schwab. They're like, okay, cool, Charles. Oh no, Thinkorswim identifies as Ameritrade. Okay, cool. But Ameritrade identifies as Charles Schwab. Oh my God, I don't know who's identifying as who. I'm very confused. Do you think when police are identifying a body, they're like, let's identify this body? Well, we can't. We have to find out who this body identifies as. A layer of complexity my brain can't handle. Yeah, options. I mean, options are outside the normal scope of this. So if we did it, we would do it like a little seminar type thing. Like a little, we used to do a Saturday seminar. What did we charge? It was back when Bitcoin was cheap. Oh, yeah. It was 1% of a Bitcoin back when Bitcoin was like 10K. So it was like $100. We would do our Saturday options seminars. It was about 3 or 4 hours long. Yeah, I remember that. That was the good old days. We might do that if we had people interested. We might do something like that. It could be fun. Okay. Let's see. I do monthly, enroll it, roughly gain about 400 per contract. That's nice. That's nice, Mike. And that's the key, is that when you're selling these options, it's just a continual system. You don't really want to get called out. Just sell. What happens is you start thinking, you get lulled into the TA guys, the idiot kind of assumption of patterns where patterns don't exist. You have a relatively near-term kind of recency bias, and you see this, you're like, okay, this is what it's doing, until it doesn't. And then you're like, crap. And then you get called out or whatever. So I was always kind of trading on 3 levels. I would do near-term at the monies, okay? And that's for constant cash generation. Right around there. I would leave like a 5 or 10% spread, but a near-term right around at the money. I would do medium-term splits. So I would say, I'm going to do some at 50% out of the money and some at 100% out of the money, but I'm going to do it at quarterly. So there's still some volatility and time premium. And then I would be long-term, and my long-term, that bucket would be split between some at the money, some about 50% out, some about 100% out. So that I've got every gamble. And again, as an option seller, you're not gambling, because the worst case scenario is you leave with more than you started with. But I wanted to end up with Bitcoin, right? I want to keep as much premium as I can. I want to end up with my Bitcoin. And that worked really well. There was one client that I had, and he didn't have a lot. I mean, he started with kind of a small amount, but we ended that account. He was impossible to manage because he's he was an older guy, and he had a lot of trouble like touching buttons and stuff. But we ended that one. He made about $80,000 per Bitcoin, and he made about 2.5 Bitcoin over like a 3-year period. So he made 2.5 Bitcoin, and he made about 80K per Bitcoin. So we weren't getting called out at all. And then there was one time we got called out when Bitcoin popped over, I think over 60 something. Oh yeah. It was in 2022, 2021, over 69. And then it retraced, and we got it back by selling puts, and we ended up just crushing. And again, it's just that slow, consistent grinding income. Let's see. Even though I took out a ton of ADA a few months back, I'm still really heavy ADA right now. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of ADA too, and I'm not a big fan of it. I actually, this is funny. I converted. So my buddy and I, Brandon and I, do a little bit of, we're experimenting with bridge loan funding cannabis deals. Legal, like between dispensaries and the grow facilities. And it's all very automated and very clean and very elegant, but no one trusts anybody. Like, no one trusts anybody. So they're like, where's the bag of money? They're like, well, we've got crypto. They're like, well, we want crypto. Okay, well, we want a bag of money. We're like, oh, God. So this back and forth is very weird. And so anyway, a lot of times you get where people need the cash up front to literally grab the stuff, drive 3 minutes, and go give it to the next guy because the guy doesn't want to come. It's like so ridiculous. These guys are so backwoods. They're like hillbillies that use crypto, and they all want USDT because they're a bunch of idiots. They don't know jack shit about anything, and they charge these ridiculous fees. So they're like, oh, I charge 3 to 4% fee to go from cash to USDT. I'm like, that's a $48 transaction, bub, on the bridge. That is nothing. So, and then I say, okay, well, I'll do it for just 2%. Well, I like you guys. So anyway, we've been doing that. I sold some Cardano right around 93 cents. Oh, no, not right around, at 93 cents to facilitate that. So, who knows? Maybe in a couple of months, I would buy back my bag of Cardano, but I don't know. I can't find a reason to buy that asset. I look a lot of times at assets that approach each other in price, especially like I look at optimism. Point is, I look at two assets where I have diminished interest in this one and I have interest in this one. And as those prices approach, I was like, I could go from this one to that one, or I could do a 2-to-1, like the Algorand. I mean, again, they're not related. Algorand is not related to Graph Token, but for some effing reason, it trades at 2-to-1. It has not broken that in months. I mean, months. 2-to-1. Just look at that. 26.8, 13. These suckers are linked, and it doesn't make any damn sense. They are not in any way related. I mean, gosh. Anyway. But yeah, I look at opportunities to grab like what I think are more quality assets. Okay. Well, it wouldn't matter, William, if they did crypto or not, because we're talking about Bitcoin ETFs, and ETFs are exchange traded funds in the host of ETPs that are listed, should be listed on all of those exchanges. Okay, what's your valued opinion of Ethereum? It's been dragging along. Do you think it will get over 4,000? Yes. The ever again thing, of course, all these things, just because inflation, just because monetary debasement and printing currency, yes. But do I think it will happen soon? I don't know. Do I think it'll happen? I thought we would already be there. I'm shocked. Shocked. That's not me crying. That's me like almost losing my coffee. I'm pretty shocked that Ethereum didn't already run, but I know that the guys at Joe Lubin and the kind of the guys that stayed, the ones that stayed, Vitalik Buterin and these other guys, I know that they are embarrassed by the poor performance of the asset. They're embarrassed by their upgrade cycles. There's a lot to be embarrassed about, but the whole world still uses Ethereum or layer 2s. Creating some scenario where the layer 2s would have to push back to Ethereum some fees and some cash. I think that's coming. Yeah, I mean, Vitalik is many things, but he's not an idiot. He's uncomfortable as hell to watch and listen to, but he is not an idiot. So I imagine they're going to try to make Ethereum great again. Mega. So yeah, I imagine we probably see 4,000 this year, but I still think we'll see an all-time high this year in Ethereum at some point. Again, BlackRock didn't get into Ethereum to lose money. They didn't get into Ethereum to make, 20% aggregate. They get into these things to make a 10 or a 20x. Otherwise, they don't invest the time and resources. So just wait and see. Again, it's the Bitcoin story, it's the Bitcoin show, and that will give way to the Ethereum show, and you will see the Ethereum show in all its grandeur, in all its shiny lights. Okay. Tired of Bitcoin getting hit in the nuts. Well, welcome to the crypto world, buddy. But again, Bitcoin at 96, 97,000 doesn't really feel like get that. That's not what getting hit in the nuts feels like to me. Who should be worried are people that piled in like jackwagons into XRP. That should be a legitimate worry. Sentiment will only take you so far, and at a certain point, SEC indictments and legal realities kick in. I mean, I hope some people sold in the threes. That was a gift. That was a Donald Trump gift. So I hope some people took advantage of it. Yeah, and the weekly doesn't matter. I look at the 30-day, the 90-day, the year. It's interesting to see patterns. I mean, just to see like a behavior, but even a month does not these markets make. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, we got another. So I got another article. While you're doing updates, how's the final stage? I don't know. I just don't think there's a lot of money in that, Raymond. We were looking at doing financing for films, but man, the film market's getting just destroyed, and I don't see a great future for that. I mean, I go to the movie theater every weekend, and I just don't. There's nobody there. It's like a new movie opens up, and there's like 12 people in the theater. I think movies, the way we're used to experiencing them in the theaters, I think that theater experience is over with. And I just don't know that there's a lot of money in gambling on these things, especially as AI gets better and better and better, where you'll just be able to prompt a movie. Netflix will be just an interface you'll use. Right? So anyway, yeah, we'll see. But no, that's not as exciting. What we're looking at is potentially tokenizing this cannabis investment if it's something that's consistent and repeatable. So Brandon and I are going to run it for a few months and see, do a gut check, and then we'll go to the private clients, see if that's something they'd be interested in. But remember, next week, today, we have the gamer token launch, GMRT. That's going to be pretty fun. And I think already, real quick, before I get to this next article, I think that's trading around 16 cents now. Let's see. Okay, a couple of sales orders there. Let's see what got completed. Okay, so latest executions are all 12s. But anyway, it's floating around for 16, so we'll see. I'll bet you that the 16s, the 15s, the 18s, I'll bet you those get filled. A lot of those get filled if people wise up to it right before TGE, because they're going to be like, crap. The minute we buy these tokens, like for the TGE, we're going to get a portion of those tokens, like because of all the weirdnesses and the kind of stickiness of where your money is kind of held and lockups and all that during a TGE event through launch pads. Having liquid tokens makes a lot of sense. So there you go. So we'll see. I think this is going to be a fun launch. And the team seems very responsive. Seems like a cool team. Flows of 106.92 thousand. That's not a lot. 106,000. Anyway, Ondo. I don't have a view of Ondo. I looked at it just like a year or two, or maybe a year ago. I don't know. Just didn't look that interesting. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that just doesn't look that interesting to me that might ultimately go straight up in value. Well, Scott, on the hypercycle, you didn't buy hypercycle tokens, I hope, to speculate on the token price. That's not what those tokens are for. Those tokens are for filling nodes and getting paid revenue, which, by the way, you're getting paid revenue right now. So soon that will be USDC, but right now you're already getting paid for that. That's why you bought these things. And as long as you're getting paid revenue, that's why I don't understand. Everybody's like, okay, compute. I'm like, okay, I get it, but you're being paid right now. You're already being paid right now. So like, okay, like, what do you care where it comes from? You're getting paid right now. Anyway, okay. Hollywood destroyed itself making movies with subject matter no one agrees. Well, I think it's streaming killed Hollywood. And I think AI will help, seal the coffin. I think that Hollywood is a thing that celebrates itself. The Emmys are voted on by other people with Emmys. It's all kind of like a small group of people doing stuff and forcing the rest of the world to watch it. Most, not all, most of Hollywood are a bunch of self-important dirtbags. I don't trust most of them. What I found is the more intelligent people, the more intelligent teams, producers, writers, they're in the streaming space where you can tell a better story over a longer period of episodes. You can tell a fuller story. Anybody see American Primeval? One of the main characters, the guy that runs the fort. I got a chance to kind of hang out with him the other day, and just kind of learning about like his perspective of what's going on. It's pretty crazy. But anyway, yeah, streaming seems to be killing traditional Hollywood, and streaming itself is going to be streamlined with AI, and eventually AI will just be doing everything, I think. And I think beyond that, movie making is just moving to AI. Yeah, that's where I think it's going. Okay. Brewing coffee. No, I don't think it said brewing coffee. That would be cool though. Maybe. We could test it. Let's see. Universe, warp speed, hyperspace, cognitive italic, pixels, flipping bits, spinning the thing, stabilizing. It happens so quick that we don't have time to read the little thing. Anyway, yeah, whatever. Okay. Let me get to this article because I think it's a good article. Let me see. Any other exchanges been offered up besides Gate? Yeah, MEXC, which Americans can participate in. MEXC. Nice. Oh, okay. People with node factories will be the first beneficiaries of the things that we're doing that Brandon and I may be able to talk about more at length tomorrow. I'll get the final yes or no whether we're allowed to talk about that. I think we are because we should be able to. But in order to participate, having tokens in a wallet don't matter. It's having node factories, married licenses. That's who immediately starts winning. I won't say anything else on that because, again, hopefully we'll be able to talk a little bit more explicitly tomorrow. So we'll see. Okay. Let's hit this article because I think it's a good one. Okay. The Great Accumulation. Holding Bitcoin on corporate balance sheets. And you can think about this in the state level as well. But holding Bitcoin on corporate balance sheets represents more than a trend. It's a transformation in how companies can create and preserve shareholder value, says Next Layer Capital's Brandon Turp. For decades, corporate treasuries have relied on cash, bonds, and short-term investments to preserve capital, but inflation, devaluing fiat currencies, debasement, and near zero interest rates have challenged this approach. A new dark horse is emerging, and corporate finance is about to change forever. Bitcoin is more and more being considered a corporate reserve asset. Do you see MicroStrategy change the name to just Strategy, which is stupid because there is no, I guess there is a strategy to take your money and buy Bitcoin that you don't get back. I guess that's a strategy. So good for strategy. Micro strategy. Micro sailor. Anyway, historically, corporations have kept substantial cash reserves for both stability and liquidity. Cash is like a melting ice cube, they say, losing its purchasing power due to monetary debasement. This is true. Buying power gets cut in half every 20 years at a minimum, and it's usually about every 8 years. Anyway, Bitcoin offers an alternative, an asset with a fixed supply, global liquidity, and asymmetric upside, they say. Since 2020, Strategy, formerly MicroStrategy, has aggressively accumulated Bitcoin, transforming its corporate balance sheet into a quasi-BTC bank, while basically defrauding investors the whole time. The company issues convertible debt and equity to fund its purchases, leveraging a traditional financial approach to building a Bitcoin treasury. In 2024 alone, MicroSaylor acquired 257,000 Bitcoin. The strategy has indirectly turned Strategy into a publicly traded Bitcoin ETF and accumulation machine that trades at a huge multiple, and people are too stupid to do the math. It grants shareholders exposure indirectly to Bitcoin through its publicly traded stock. However, those shareholders are idiots. They're total idiots because it's trading at a multiple. They could buy ETFs, but they choose to buy this dummy's company stock. It's the craziest thing. Anyway, two key metrics: Bitcoin per share and BTC yield. MicroSaylor has popularized two key metrics. Well, one of them is made up. There's no such thing as Bitcoin yield. It's a made up thing. But anyway, MicroStrategy popularized these two made up metrics that every corporation studying the strategy should understand: Bitcoin per share and Bitcoin yield. Bitcoin per share is the number of outstanding share. Okay. So the number of Bitcoin per share, if you divide all that, so take all the shares, take the number of Bitcoin, divide the Bitcoin by all the outstanding shares, and this metric allows investors to measure a company's indirect Bitcoin exposure per share. Remember, though, they can just spew out more shares whenever they want. They can debase you. There's nothing you can do to stop them. Oh, there's a vote. It doesn't matter. All these votes, you know how it is. They all get punted through. Then there's the BTC yield thing, which is this is just a total made up pile of shit. BTC yield. This is the percentage change in the number of Bitcoin per share over time. This KPI attempts to reflect how efficiently a company acquires Bitcoin. Right. But again, it's a made up thing because they can issue shares whenever they want. So many corporations maintain traditional treasury strategies. A fundamental shift in corporate finance is emerging. Over 70 publicly traded companies now hold Bitcoin on their balance sheets. Tesla, Coinbase, obviously, Block, obviously. Even companies outside the tech and finance sector are kind of loosening up to adopting this approach, demonstrating its broader applicability across industries. So you have MicroStrategy, of course, Marathon Digital, Riot, CleanSpark, Hut 8, Tesla, Coinbase, Block, Galaxy Digital, Bitcoin. These are all crypto tech companies. So, of course, Galaxy Digital. Galaxy Digital is a crypto fund run by a scumbag who got fired from Goldman Sachs and fired from his own fund. Novogratz, nice guy, but I think what it is I think he probably got fired for like drug abuse. So I've heard some stories like he's like really smart, but he likes the sauce a little bit. But that was Jim Cramer's problem. Jim Cramer was a raging alcoholic, and Jim Cramer used to be really smart. So who knows? Maybe just burned his brain out. Kind of like, but remember, Novogratz was the guy that got the tattoo, the lunatic tattoo. So you got to wonder, if somebody's that bad at math, like at basic math, what business do they have managing other people's money? I would say effing zero. But others say different. Anyway, this overall adoption by corporates represents more than a kind of fad. It's become a trend. And this is it seems like it's a transformation in how companies can create and preserve shareholder value. So the regulatory environment obviously is evolving in Bitcoin's favor, especially under Trump, but around the rest of the world too. A lot of other countries get their marching orders from what the US does. So you have SAB 21's reversal, SAB 21, which that fundamentally enhanced Bitcoin's utility as a treasury asset. It enabled regulated financial institutions to provide custody services. Corporations can now leverage their Bitcoin holdings more efficiently through established banking relationships, and it doesn't count as a liability against your balance sheet. Before SAB 20, it made it where holding Bitcoin was a detriment to your balance sheet. That made your lending and holding requirements different. It really screwed you up. Anyway, that's gone. 2, the FASB landmark accounting changes. These created a more accurate reflection of Bitcoin's economics on corporate financial statements. Under these rules, companies accumulating Bitcoin can now recognize appreciation in their earnings statements, providing a clear mechanism for value creation through strategic Bitcoin acquisition. On the flip side of that, we don't know how that's going to affect corporate taxes just yet. It's like they got those accounting changes, but now they have to actually pay taxes based on those. Like, you can't report the gain to boost your share price and not also pay the tax on the gain. You can't have both. So I think that's they're going to try to figure that out. And then the proposed Bitcoin Act of 2024, it's a broader regulatory kind of clarity. This house is clear. That kind of signal of growing institutional acceptance, reducing systemic risks for corporate adoption, what have you. So companies can now generate earnings through growth strategies, some of which would involve Bitcoin accumulation, some of it Bitcoin ETF accumulation, while simultaneously building a position in an asset that has potential for its own appreciation, right? The asset itself. So the combination of current earnings impact and future value potential echoes Warren Buffett's principles of finding businesses that can both generate current returns and reinvest capital at attractive rates, right? So we'll see what happens at the state level over the next, even 6 to 8 weeks. It'll be pretty interesting to see what happens. And William, buddy, if you had an order from 4 days ago, it didn't get filled, it's not going to get filled. Let me go and take a look at these orders and tell you which orders would never have been filled. Okay, buddy. None of these orders are getting filled because at that time, gas was too expensive to fill those orders. Come on, bro. Get off the gas. All right. Let's call it a day. There's lots of good stuff coming. Hopefully we can talk about some of it tomorrow. We'll look at doing, I don't know, those seminars are such a headache. They're good, but man, there's a lot of questions. Teaching options, it seems simple, but man, there's a lot to it. I'll go over my old notes. I'll see if I have the right screenshots. I probably have to redo those all with current prices. And the problem is we don't really have. It'd be tricky. Let me think about that. We'll think about potentially doing something like that. I know for the digital private clients and the digital investors, we will look at, like on a Monday and a Friday, we'll look at options contracts and things that would make sense and where you should be selling. So maybe we'll look at that and make that a regular part of the behind the wall content on Mondays and Fridays, where you should sell, where you should exit, that kind of thing. Other than that, let's call it a day. Hey, listen, 7 more days till TGE, GMRT, TGE, ASAP. All right. Stay in school. Don't do drugs. Don't do anything a poor, insolvent, drunk, strung on meth grandmother wouldn't do, which is very little. Go slow, especially when you see these markets sell off like this. You see these degens get whacked. Go slow. Think about consolidating your portfolio. You don't need to own 140 things. You're not going to miss it. If something goes up, so what? Big deal. Like you don't have to be in every single fast racehorse. Like you don't have to own a piece in every single football team that wins a game, only to go on and lose another game. Like, slow down, relax. Making good decisions is what makes you rich. Not any one of those good decisions. Is the whole net effect of good decision making.
lies to these eyes as if they'd never seen the sun. Now you've let your guard down and your heart is exposed. Now you've let your guard down, but how could you have known that I'm the big fish round here? You're a small fish. I could make you disappear. You should know this. I'm the big fish round here. You're a small fish.